What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Coach La. I am your favorite around the way therapist in the building. I'm super excited about tonight's conversation. You know, we are radio with a purpose. And you know what we do here every single Sunday night. We talk about anything and everything connected to mental health by debunking myths about mental health, one conversation at a time. So I hope you guys are ready for a really intriguing and down-to-earth conversation, because tonight is a milestone episode for Conversations with Coach La. Do you know why? This is my first out-of-town guest who has come all the way from New Jersey to Boston to have a conversation with me. Like, when I tell you, like, if there's these milestone moments where you feel like, you know, you have arrived, I feel like I arrived. I feel like I've arrived. So I hope y'all can celebrate with me tonight as I have a conversation with the founder of Temples Are Sacred. She is a woman of many talents, y'all, and passions. She's an entrepreneur. She's an educator. She's an empowerment activist, and she's dedicated her life to serving her community. Today, she is the vice principal of Henry Snyder High School in Jersey City of New Jersey, which is the second largest public school district in the state of New Jersey. And for over a decade, she has touched thousands of lives, our children, our babies, as a math teacher, a head coach, and a senior leader at her school. So she is not nothing to play with, okay? She's quickly moved up the ranks, and she had a really life-changing experience that transpired in September of 2021, which we're going to learn more about. But she suffered a mental breakdown, almost committed suicide, and ended up in a mental institution for 7 days. While she was there, though, and having all of her feelings of sadness, she started to look at her accomplishments. And despite the fact that she was feeling very empty, that is when she had this epiphany. And that is the moment that she wrote the book that we're going to hear about today, called Temples Are Sacred and So Are You. This book, which I love, is written for a young reader who needs mentoring and guidance on the triumphs and trials of life. And you know, that's all we talk about here on Conversations with Coach La. And then what she did with that, you know, because, you know, she just said, okay, I'm not going to just write a book. She created a whole organization called Touch and Agree Tanaje. I hope I said that right. Solutions. We're going to get that pronunciation right. And the organization focused on health and wellness in her community. But her mission didn't stop there, because she continued to think about her teenage years and realized the importance of mentorship and guidance for teens and young adults. And she has been on that mission, which is why she is here today. So let's welcome to Conversations with Coach La, Miss Karima McKenzie. Hey!
Hey, happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here too.
Super excited to be here.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. I as I was reading over your book, which we're going to talk more about that. Oh,
yes.
I didn't took you off stage. Oh,
put me back.
Put you back. I was thinking to myself, I said, wow, I love the way that is laid out, because I had the PDF, but I got the hard copy in my hand. It's nothing like having the hard copy.
Nothing like it. Get yours.
What I want to ask you though, from in your own words,
mm-hmm.
What's not in the bio? Who is Karima?
Well, Karima, I am a spiritual being that is having a human experience. Yes, and with that comes this deep inner knowing of who I am and who I know myself to be, and what I'm here to do. And that is my divine mission and purpose, is to teach and preach the message of love for self, the one greatest commandment of unconditional love, not just for ourselves, but for others as well. So if you could sum me up, I go by the name, the unconditional lovist.
I never have heard of that.
I know.
The unconditional loveist.
Yes.
That sounds like a whole bar. I might have to put that in one of my next pieces.
Yes.
You know, we were talking, so we had a chance to just kick it. Shout out to Boston Restaurant and Grill. Shout out to Miss Maggie. And we got a chance to eat. And her wellness journey is real. Okay, she got superfoods. She don't play about her food, y'all. She drank water. Like,
that's right.
She's definitely on that health and wellness real time, like 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a chance to just kick it, and just talk about your walk and your journey. And you mentioned like your pivotal point of getting to being in a mental institution, which I know for a lot of people, it's like how they can't even probably fathom what your level of success and where you were in your career, that would even happen to someone like you.
Absolutely. I didn't believe it would happen to me either, to be honest. I think, the reason I tell my story is because of the importance of letting people know that I see you. Letting others know that I see you, I see your struggle, I see your pain, and that this human experience is really difficult, and if we don't speak our truth and let everybody know what we're going through, then how can we help one another?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're spiritual beings having a human experience. Is so real.
Yes.
Right. And then I told you earlier, I said, sometimes I feel like our best opportunities come disguised as bad news.
Correct.
Because in that moment of extreme adversity and trauma, you birthed this beautiful guide.
Yes.
Which, as I was looking through it and reading through it, is like coping strategies.
Yes.
And for a lot of young people, no one really is teaching you how to cope with what's to come. A lot of people will tell you about life and, give you nuggets. But when it really hits you, I don't think anyone can really quite prepare you for heartbreak, betrayal, job loss. Some of the things that you go through as an adult, especially after you get to a certain point in life and you feel like you've arrived and the rug gets pulled from underneath you. So you want to talk a little bit more about, that moment that you found yourself in 2021?
Yeah. So, the rug was completely pulled up from under me in my marriage that ended in divorce. And that storm rolled my life in many ways because I thought I had everything. And to be faced with the reality of I am losing everything now. I'm losing everything. So to be faced with that reality, I think I completely broke down. My sense of esteem, my sense of confidence, my sense of love for self. I really realized in that moment how much I didn't love myself at all. Yeah.
That's profound.
Yeah.
For everybody that's listening, shout out to those that are tuned in from YouTube, Facebook, iHeartRadio, LinkedIn. We appreciate you tuning in and listening. It makes me think about when you ask, when's the last time you asked yourself, do I love me? And what do I love about myself? One of the activities I give to my clients is a reflection activity, and it's in third person. And it would go, I love Lakeisha because, right? And you'll be surprised when people come to therapy, how difficult it is to fill up one line, one sheet of paper with things that they love about themselves.
Correct.
We can be so hard on ourselves, but those that are listening, try it. I love for you to report back, pull out a sheet of paper and just try to fill it up with what you love about yourself in third person, and no disclaimers, nothing that I love me because this, or but only if it was that, no buts, right? But just flat out, what do you love about yourself? And to go beyond the surface, right? Because sometimes it's always physical attributes. Like, I don't love myself if I, don't like the way my stomach looks, or I want a bigger butt. But like, what do you love about yourself at the core of who you are as a person? That's real though, to go that you don't love yourself and to be in that space.
Yes.
Now, what do you think are the catalysts? I know you said divorce, but people get divorced. That doesn't necessarily mean that they find themselves not loving themselves. Why do you think that was the case for you?
I think it was a combination of, inner childhood experiences as well. The loss of my father played a huge factor on two key areas of my life where I didn't know until experiencing the divorce, really, right? I didn't know I was an anxious child, right? I didn't know that I suffered an abandonment wound. I didn't know these things until my marriage ended, where I started to do the deep dive. So it's a culmination of things that happens throughout the course of our lives that just over time, if they're not dealt with, you're gonna face them one way or another.
Talk about
Let's
it, right?
talk about it.
What's so interesting about that, as we segue into what does therapy mean to you? I think as I'm reading through this, she starts off chapter 1. T is for truth, trauma, trust, and train.
Yes.
And she breaks down what a temple is. And for some people, you might immediately hear that and get sort of like she's talking spiritually. But if you think about your body, your vessel is a vessel, and your mind is a sacred place. Like what you consume, what you take in to you is so important. And that's kind of what I took from this first thing when you broke down, a temple is a place devoted to a special purpose.
Correct.
It's a place of public worship.
Yes.
And any place in which God dwells.
Exactly. Which is within us.
Which is within us.
Yes.
So, and then as we go through it, she starts talking about the best way to begin anything in life is with truth.
Yes.
And so it's with the truth that we begin this book.
Yes.
And I said to myself, if this don't sound like a damn therapy session,
it is.
It's a therapy. If you've never gone to therapy, right, you get this book. She basically is taking you through a therapeutic journey of how to self-soothe. Yes. And how to process. So do you think like when you had this moment, part of it was you didn't really know how to process any of it?
I didn't, right? So when I started writing the book, I literally went through this journey completely on my own, right? And when I went through it by myself, I said, how can people find out how to love themselves if they don't know where to go? So I said, okay, I compiled a bunch of different things that I started doing and then put it in a book because people need a blueprint. When you ask somebody, do you love yourself? First, people like, I don't know. We've never been taught how to love ourselves. We're
talking bars right now.
We're talking that loving ourselves. People think that you're selfish. That's kind of the stinger. When it comes to love for self, and it doesn't have to be selfish. It means pour from the overflow, give from the overflow. So that's what I started to do, and it started from just with truth. I have to be honest with myself and who I actually am. And that happens in therapy. So when you ask what is therapy, therapy is going to find out who you truly are. Now, no mask. Take the mask off.
No filter, as we say.
No filters.
So once again, you guys are tuned into Conversations with Coach La. I don't know. That may or may not be a phone call, but we're not ready for a phone call yet. Somebody who's calling in already. Y'all got to give us just a second. So I was thinking to myself, ooh, I just hit the thing. Now we're back. When we think about what therapy is, and we think about how things occur in our mind and truth. And you said, one of your comments was know thyself, right? You got to go take this deep dive so you know who you are. Correct. But that's precisely where a lot of young people are falling short. Correct. Is that during the adolescent years when you're young, you don't necessarily know who you are yet. You're still trying to figure it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's the starting point. The starting point is getting to the root of who you are. That's where every journey needs to begin. And that's where I began. I began to uncover who is Karima. Who am I? What makes me who I am? And that's when we get to the origin, which is a book I'm reading right now, The Origins of You. Yeah.
So you have this part in the book and it says, let's walk the talk.
Mm-hmm.
Reward yourself with a richer understanding of this chapter by answering the questions below. So she makes you go to work. Like, this is only page 9, y'all. Grab a pen and some paper and let's go, right? So number 1, think of your past and describe one traumatic experience you have had in your life. And we talked a lot about trauma when we were sitting and kicking it. And we both agree that trauma was very much subjective.
Correct.
Like, not everybody sees traumatic experiences the same.
Yes.
So I think it's really dope that that's the first thing is like, what have you gone through? And I know you mentioned there were like 3 pivotal points, and we identified that trauma was a life-changing experience.
Life-altering.
A life-altering experience.
Mm-hmm.
So those of you that may be trying to figure out, whether or not you had trauma, because some people don't even know, right? Because I think a lot of times living in the inner city and being a person of color, we have a lot of life-altering experiences. But if you were to say, hey, you've experienced trauma, some of us might be like, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
Like,
it's
what are you talking
eye.
about?
It's in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
But that's where therapy helps, right? Helps uncover. It may not necessarily be a traumatic event, as extreme as being physically abused or verbally abused, but just something as small as my dad worked all the time, and when he came home, he never talked to me. It's something subtle, but that it makes an impression on us that affects how we are in future relationships.
She dropping bras. She dropping bars.
I'm just speaking on what I know to be true.
But see, a lot of people, when they start therapy, they go, I don't want to talk about my childhood.
Yeah.
They'll be like, I just want to deal with how do I make my relationship better with my wife, or I want to be a better mom, or, I want to move up in my career and I feel like I'm stuck and I don't understand my purpose. And it's buzzwords like that. I'm fatigued and I got anger management issues and I feel down all the time and I don't know why. And but I don't want to talk about my childhood.
Nah, I truly believe in the spirit of Sankofa. You cannot, just posted this earlier today, you cannot know where you're going until you know where you come from.
Yeah, that's deep.
What it is. Yeah.
And I think sometimes too, knowing where you came from does not mean that that's your future. It's just a way of understanding how you got to think how you think.
Correct.
And why you may show up in the world the way you show up. And then you can make a decision in those moments. What pieces of this do I want to hold on to?
Correct.
That I feel has helped me grow? And what things do I want to reshape, reframe, or simply throw away? Like, I don't even want to embrace that piece of that learned behavior is not a behavior that I want to continue.
Yeah, I think oftentimes we don't realize the impact of these life-altering moments and how it impacts us behaviorally, right? How it impacts our nervous system. All of these things are things that you really want to study and know so that you can behave differently next time. When you're triggered from something that has happened in the past and you act out as a result of it, but the person or the connection that you have now is not responsible for what happened before, then you're punishing the person you're with because you haven't dealt with the trauma that has happened before. So if you don't want to continue in patterns that are detrimental to your future relationships, it's best that you get the healing that you need so that you can become better moving forward. Yeah.
That is a whole lot of depth that I think some people don't always sit with themselves. But what I love about your book, you go on to say, number 2, to identify how has this experience affected your life? What patterns of behavior did you create within you? This is like some serious reflection. Yeah. Right. And then you go on to say, what are you doing now? Or what can you do to change those patterns of behavior? We talk about accountability, one of my core values. But then at the bottom, what I love is you call it a sacred pause. Shout out to Vic Breedy and my Selfish Women's group. We talk about pause moments as well, where you take that opportunity to listen to a song or to meditate, which she also breaks down, and Karima breaks down in her book, is how to meditate and why that's important. But she says, pause, sacred pause. Before you move on to the next chapter, move within. Take a moment to sit in silence and reflect on all of the thoughts and feelings you felt in this chapter and activity. Baby, let me tell you something. One of the things I learned about motivation, drive, has so much to do with knowing what your intentionality is behind whatever it is you're doing, right? And being able to take that moment and go, how did that make me feel? You know, how do these people make me feel? How does the environment make me feel? When I say I want to do that goal, what is my biggest fear? What am I anticipating about it? What are some things that I think might get in my way? You'll be able to understand why you may not get something done.
Correct.
Right? Because I don't think a lot of us lack motivation. I think we lack inspiration, and we lack intentionality, and we lack direction. We just say we want to do something, but we don't really know why we want to do it. What's driving it? So I think that was really dope. I love how you have broken this book down, and I love how you made it so simple and straightforward that I think if I was a youth, I would like this a lot.
Well, I wrote it for my 12-year-old self because, you know, at the time I just said, what is it that I wanted to know at that time? And I wrote it from that perspective, and I wanted it to be short, concise, and to the point, because we all know, you know, the attention span of our young, you know, generation right now. They need short and to the point, and they need raw truth in a split second. So that's the purpose and intention behind the length of the book and the length of the chapters.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's an acronym. So Temple is an acronym that I told you what the T was.
Yes.
Then she goes into exercise, y'all. That's the E. Yes. Exercise and elevate. Again, breaking it really down about what and how to do it. Everybody out there that has a teen, has a youth.
Yes.
You need to get this book. I'm about to throw it into the chat.
It's available on all platforms.
And I say this because this is a great book that you can incorporate into coaching with your youth. Yes. I also say this is a great book that a parent could use to read with their youth. I love that it's just simple. So some of the things that she writes in here is make yourself your own head coach and show yourself the respect a coach deserves. I always used to say when I worked with kids, because I worked in a school once as a school social worker, is who we're now on that kid's team. So if you were my student, I would say, you know, this is Team Karima, right? We're all on Team Karima, and everybody that was on this team was similar to a basketball team. We all had a role and a position that we played to make sure that you could make your shots, right? And that you were better prepared to win the game. So I love that you put it into this format.
Yeah, I wanted to draw the connection as a former athlete, right? Being that I've studied under coaches for more than half of my life, I realized that we can be our own head coaches too. And just put in the practices that a coach does for themselves, for the team, do that over your own life. It's important. It's super important.
So they call me coach around these parts. So it's
Coach La.
Coach La. So I there's this book that I found years ago. It's called Coach Yourself. And I often tell my clients, my goal is to get you to a place by coming to therapy that you have a toolbox of practices to manage your mental health and to be able to help guide you, because life will life.
Yes.
Right. And I think that what happens is most of us, I would say most of us internally know what we need to do. We may not know all of the steps to do it, but we know, like, when something isn't feeling right, or when we need, you know, support, or we know when we don't like to ask for help. We know when we're stubborn. People know this stuff.
Yes.
Right. And it's like knowing how is that either helping you or hindering you or getting in the way. That right there, of having that level of self-reflection and self-awareness is like a game changer.
Correct.
Right? Because then you can sit with yourself and know when it's you and when it's other people.
Correct.
Right? And I think that's one of the hardest things, is not to internalize other people's behavior, know what part you play in your own stuff.
Yes.
You know, I want trauma. mess, right? So
that's why the book was created in terms of what you mentioned about being a blueprint. I don't have all the answers.
Right.
But I do have a journey that I took myself through that is tested and proven through my own experience that is now a blueprint for the teens and young adults and even adults now that I speak to. Follow this blueprint day by day. Pick one of the 7 of the blueprint and do something for yourself every single day. And before you know it, things start shifting.
And you know what's so interesting? I challenge all of the listeners to take a page or two. I want you to go look up anybody that you admire, that you feel is successful and doing great in life. There's a theme. They all talk about working out. They talk about waking up early. They talk about meditation. They talk about eating well.
Yes.
They're all like, everybody's saying the same thing. If you really, they in different formats, you know, in this case, Karima's acronym is Temple. There's another gentleman I like, Hal Elrod, who has the Miracle Morning. His is Savers. But it all comes back to daily routines and habits, which AKA self-care.
Yes.
Right. So people that are like, you're trying to find how, the why, you're still stuck. Like, I don't want to sound facetious, but find someone who's doing it.
Yeah.
That's living their life the way you want to live it, and ask them how. Hello, it's in this book right here, right? And then you listen to them and you do it.
Yes.
You do it. You actually put effort to do it. And you'll be surprised how certain things won't bother you anymore. For example, my son, shout out to my lovely child. I love you, Rashad, my 18-year-old, my lovely, beautiful child. Just got this car. He gonna be mad at me for telling his business, but he got a car. I was against it, y'all. Oh, I was like, you ain't ready. You drive too fast and you don't like to listen. You think you know everything, right? That's dangerous. Cars are dangerous. They're more dangerous than airplanes, right? Ma, you're being extra. You're being extra. Just chill. I got this. My baby ain't had this car a month, y'all. And then totaled it.
Oh, man.
The car's totaled. Just got the inspection certificate last week. And you know how he totaled it? Driving too fast in the rain and hydroplaned and 360-degree. Cars cracked all up, right? But here's the beauty of it. And here's why I'm grateful. I could have been telling y'all a different story today.
That's right, yes.
Tough lesson, because it's going to be expensive lesson, but he did not lose his life. And sometimes we don't realize that things are just a test. They're not a sign. He'll get another car, but it's to test you and to get you to see, to make a change. That's all it is. And so sometimes we can get too stuck in situations thinking that it's all done. It's a wrap. It's over. And it's not. Look what came out of your trials and tribulations, right? is a whole book and a whole blueprint. But all of the individuals that I admire, they all talk about practicing self-care. And I'm not just talking about go and get your nails done, get your hair done, dress nice, smell nice. They talk about stuff like this. Like, we go on to meditate and manifest.
Yes.
The M.
Yes.
I love meditate and manifest. This might be my favorite part, right?
Yeah.
Because some people make meditation seem way too complicated. Oh, I can't meditate. Baby, sit your butt still. Just sit still for a second.
Yes.
Sit still, close your eyes, listen to Andre 3000. For one song. Just sit still. Like, did you know that people that can't sit still usually have traumatic past? That busyness and not being to sit still is a symbol of your nervous system being all jacked up. Did you know that?
I did.
I know you did. Well, how did you find out?
You're asking the people at home?
Yeah, I'm asking. How did you find out?
When I couldn't sit still myself.
Okay. How did you know? Like,
I would say, honestly, checking myself into the mental institution was the best thing that ever happened to me. it allowed me to sit in the stillness, get close to the divine presence that's already within me. Sometimes it requires a complete separation and pull away from everything. From everything. Get in the silence. It is in the silence that your inner knowing can speak to you. It is when your creativity can be birthed. It is when you just get uploads of things that you didn't even know were inside of you. It's the
Y'all hear
most
this?
divine time.
Y'all hear this? Listen.
Get in the stillness of the Most High.
Turn off the phone.
Turn it off.
Put the phone down. Turn the TV off, and just be still.
Yeah, you never know what's gonna come through.
It's something about being able to find your peace, no matter what is going on around you externally. Is to find your peace. I used to like watching those old school karate movies, and you would see that in the fight, you know, when they thought they was gonna lose, and they were able to like totally zone in, like zone all the way in.
Yeah, slow motion.
And everybody was like, "Oh man, he about to come out, he about to win," right? Because he would get real focused. Being able to do that allows you to push through in a way that is so powerful. When you can learn how to just calm yourself down, no matter what is going on, like you can just get within your own, I must use her, temple.
Yeah. So to bring it back to what I came up with, right?
Yeah.
Well, not even came up with, what the divine put in me. It's so above me, right? And I say this all the time. I want people to understand that the words that I put in the book challenge me. They hold me accountable to my own words. There are days that I don't fulfill the temple's message myself because I'm human, right? So
it's about progress, not perfection. Though.
Absolutely.
It's about having the skills to go back to. There's a book that I read to, Atomic Habits by James Clear. And he talks about when you have habits, routines, strategies, those things are way, way better because it always allows you to get back center when you get off track.
Correct.
And that's what this is.
Yes.
This is like a blueprint of strategies to help you build better daily habits, because life will life and you won't maybe do what you're supposed to do on a particular day. But having something like this, you can just go right back to it.
Correct.
You don't have to wonder like, oh my God, how am I going to get back on track?
Yeah.
You already know. So I love it. Oh my goodness. I love it so much. I love it. Okay. So what is your favorite piece of the acronym out of the temple? What's your favorite? Or like if there was a cheat code, which one do you go to immediately when you fall off track? Do you just start back from T and just go in order? Or is there a particular one you always go to?
Love and meditation, both of them. I love.
We was talking about that earlier.
Yeah, I really do.
Oh.
I love.
Love is love.
I love that, you know.
Look at, we both get so giddy talking about love.
I love that this is my messaging, you know. I love that it holds me accountable. And then when I'm out of sync, meditation pulls me back into the frequency of love.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know what someone told me? They said that as long as you were love and you realized love was in you, you always had love. And I thought that was so dope.
Yeah.
So I love love too, because I am love.
Absolutely.
And so because love is always exuding from me, I'm never without love.
Correct.
And therefore, that's how I practice self-love. I know that was a whole bar. Y'all like, what the heck did Coach La just say? But at the end of the day, you got to love every aspect of yourself.
Correct.
You know, none of us are perfect. There's always going to be some flaws, some areas of improvement, some dark areas, some behaviors that are not the best, some quirks. But that's what makes each one of us so unique.
You have to love your shadow parts too.
Oh, look at her.
You do.
All right. So let's tell them, what is a shadow part?
Oh man.
Yeah, because you dropping these buzzwords. We're like, for all you guys that are very attuned and know what shadow work is, shout out to you. but there may be somebody that's listening that have no idea what we're talking about.
These are the parts of ourselves that are programs running in the subconscious, stuff that you don't necessarily are aware of.
Like jealousy, envy,
yeah,
that hate and stuff.
Those little
revenge.
Things. Yeah,
you might do the little things that you don't want nobody to know.
Yeah,
about. You might only tell your therapist.
Yeah,
maybe you told on somebody or you deleted somebody's file at work.
Yes,
you stole their lunch.
Look, it's a lot of the little things, a lot of hidden parts of ourselves that we mask from many people, but most of our shadows come out in relationship.
So I told somebody that relationships were mirrors.
Yes, they are.
And they usually mirror back pieces of ourselves that we either don't want to deal with.
Correct.
Or
we are forced to see them.
Forced to see it.
Yeah.
Or, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are triggers.
Yes.
They're triggers. They trigger stuff in you that was dormant.
Correct.
Or repressed.
Correct.
So like we talked earlier with your divorce being the eye opener to abandonment and different things of that and anxious attachment style. Mm-hmm. Y'all need to go find out y'all attachment styles.
Yeah, man.
But listen. Shout out to Miss Opal. Thank you, Miss Opal, for tuning in. We appreciate you being here. You guys are tuned into the Urban Heat 98.1 FM. You already know we are iHeartRadio station. And this is your favorite around the way therapist. I got Karima McKenzie all the way from Jersey City here with me tonight. Yes, this is a milestone mode, y'all. I actually have an out-of-town guest that came all the way here just to be on the show with me.
The first and finest. Hey.
Oh, I feel so excited. So, but we're talking about some deep stuff on here, right? Mm-hmm. And those relationships, right? And this is why people either can feel like a relationship is like uplifting them, mm-hmm. or they can feel like the relationship is toxic, mm-hmm. right? And I don't like the word toxic, but most of y'all know what that is. But it's just unhealthy behaviors, right? Mm-hmm. Your communication style. Maybe you shut down. Maybe you yell. Maybe you cheat. Maybe mm-hmm. you lie, mm-hmm. right? The things that you haven't really dealt with, that's part of your shadow, part of that stuff that your partner gets a chance to see. Mm-hmm. Your partner gets a chance to get to know you in a way, baby, that only your parents really know you, which is why attachment styles are real, y'all. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So attachment style. So you found out you had an anxious one.
Yes.
What did that do for you when you found that information out? Was it like, aha, I get me now? Or was it like, damn, I got problems?
No, it was like, aha, I get me now, right? So the minute I realized it, I had to start reading up. And that's the thing, is like once you know or you can identify with a certain style, the importance is moving away from it, right? Not continuing that behavior. So it's a daily work. It's a daily practice to move from being anxious. And it's with all things. Like I could be anxious about just, oh my God, if somebody doesn't text me back, like, are they mad at me? Like it could be anxious about anything. And it stems from abruptly losing my father at such an early age. I just tried to prevent, not knowing. Because to not know causes me the greatest fear.
And can we talk about she was 5?
Yeah.
So there's milestone. Y'all can look up Erickson is one of my favorite developmental psychologists, right? But he talks about different milestones in development at different ages.
Yeah.
And depending on what happens and when these life-altering experiences occur, if you don't have the guidance and the support to process it, you develop certain behaviors, you develop certain perspectives on life. You develop certain coping strategies, it's defense mechanisms. That's why going to therapy is so dope, because often no one knows to even talk about this stuff.
Correct. You uncover it.
Nobody knows to know this. There's no real book for most of us. If you were born in the 1970s, folks wasn't talking about this. Talking about 1960s, therapy wasn't even cool for a lot of those generations. Like these millennials and these younger people are hearing more about therapy and getting therapists, but they mamas and daddies wasn't getting therapists, and they're getting therapy, which is helping older generation people consider therapy, right? Me becoming a therapist is helping people in my family consider going to therapy. And part of it is because I'm not talking about it like the way that they recall it being, which is you go sit someplace and they try to shrink your brain and, they're trying to figure you out. And as soon as you go tell them you have a problem, they put you in a straight jacket. Like that's what people think about when they think about mental health is standing in the middle of the street, seeing pink elephants, like that's not everybody's story or journey. Mental health is just not feeling good in your mind. And not feeling good in your body, feeling uncomfortable, anxious. And for you, what does anxiety feel like? I think we should just sort of talk about that because some people don't even realize what we mean when we say anxious.
Well, it's a sudden change in your nervous system is what it feels like for me. I get, my heart drops sometime, or I can't kind of sit still, get a little anxious, a little agitated, and I got to keep moving. And my mind takes me down these different stories.
We call it spiraling and storytelling, y'all.
Yeah, man, that junk is crazy.
Storytelling. And those, shout out to everybody that got anxiety because people think it's like a panic attack and hitting the floor screaming.
Nah,
and it could be looking through your partner's phone. It could be going and stalking them, going to their job and seeing what they're doing. It could be overeating emotionally.
Yes.
It could be drinking. It could be doing drugs. Like anxiety shows up in some really interesting ways. You could be crying profusely one second and the next second you're fine. You could be working out. Some people could work out a lot all the time. So there's so many ways that it can be obsessive, and that could be anxious energy.
Yes. So one of the tools I learned was to not follow the story, right? I have the story in my mind, and then I have to question myself, well, is that true? That's the first thing you ask yourself. Is that true? Do you know that to be true? And that stops it in its track. And then you don't know it to be true. So when you don't know it to be true, then you kind of do like a breathwork exercise, and you kind of bring yourself back to your inner knowing, and just trust that if someone had a problem with you, they would communicate that problem to you and not create these stories in your head, up in your mind. So it takes a lot of practice. It's real. A lot of practice.
It's real.
But it takes, again, in therapy, is just not following the story and then coming back to self and just doing a little bit of breathwork exercises. So.
And I think first and foremost is acknowledging that one, you are doing that.
Yes.
Because once you know that
we getting a call,
it went away and came back. Once we know we're doing that, we can do something about it. Because anxiety is fear of the unknown. You just want answers. So your brain is trying to make sense of why something is happening or not happening.
Well, it's really the subconscious mind trying to keep you safe. That's really what's happening. You're formulating all these stories so that you can feel protected in some way. It's all about your subconscious program trying to protect you from what has happened before.
Dropping bars.
That's what it's doing. Is operating on a program. Oh, we gotta get to safety. How do we get to safety? Oh, let's create a story. So you'll be prepared. You'll be prepared this time. Just want to prepare you.
Pitfalls. You know, how can we make sure we don't get played? How can we make sure that we don't look stupid? It's just so many pieces of it, right? Correct. How can we make sure that they don't leave?
Ooh, they don't leave. Ooh, that's another whole
right. That they don't leave.
Discussion.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that abandonment one right there.
Have you felt loved?
Absolutely.
That is chapter 5, and she busted out with a question. Have you felt loved? And I think, for a lot of people, when you ask them what does love mean to them, or they say they're in love with you, or they say they love someone else, they don't even know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes it's about ownership, obsession, sex, ego.
Yeah.
But what does it really mean to love someone? And I think you can't really love someone if you don't love yourself.
1000%. You cannot.
What you want is control.
Come on now.
What you want is ownership.
Come on now.
Nobody don't want to deal with that. I know we just said some stuff. But when we think about relationship, even like this, the marriage and has a lot of layers of control and ownership. Nobody don't want to deal with that either. But in essence, like, why do we want relationship? What is that about? Because when it goes sour or it doesn't work out, a lot of people, believe it or not, that is what brings them to therapy, is the ending of a relationship or relationship not going the way they have it in their mind that it should.
Yeah. I truly believe that relationships, they're here to teach us, right? We can't be individuals in this human experience and not learn without a relationship. So love is the greatest of the relationships where you're going to learn the most about who you are, and you're going to learn the most about what love truly is or is not.
I love it. No pun intended. So, but whether you have or have not, remember one thing is about real love. It has no conditions, no requirements, no restrictions. Like God's love, it is free and abundant and perfect for you. I think that says so much, because sometimes what people do too, when people don't do what they want them to do, they withhold love, right? And again, that's all part of safety. If you love, right? And you can set boundaries and let a person know something that they done, you didn't like it, or you want to be treated differently. But some of the ways in which we engage with someone who we love, who doesn't do what we want, is disconnecting behaviors, like stonewalling, yelling at them, disrespecting them, which only over time is going to push a particular person away, especially someone that has a healthy, secure attachment style. Is only going to be able to engage with that for so long before they're going to disconnect and say, you know what, I can't do this.
Yes.
I love you, but I love myself more.
Absolutely. So if love is what it's intended to be, meaning from within, right? If we're loving ourselves from within and we're pouring from the overflow, then it should never fail. That's just my belief.
But I think that's so true.
Yes.
Because often the people who are doing things also are struggling with loving themselves as well, which is why I always tell people that I'm working with in couples that it's not the relationship that's the problem. You're two people that come together and create the relationship. So you have to think about, what are you and your partner bringing to the union? Because you're coming for couples therapy, but neither one of you've done any individual work to understand what you're bringing into the fold. And you got to kind of pick that all apart and think about, well, what am I bringing into this dynamic that's working or not working? What works for my partner, what doesn't work for my partner? And have we discussed that? And am I respecting what they're asking of me? Do I even have the capacity to do that? And some people are so much in their ego and stubbornness that they self-sabotage their own relationship because they're unwilling to budge, right? So anyway, I don't want to forget to ask you this though, because we know we always talk about bet on self moments, right? And those are the moments that we have these epiphanies, and those epiphanies sort of sound like, if not now, then when? If not me, then who? These are these moments in your life where you sit back and you go, you know what? That may have been what happened to me, but it's not where I'm headed. And I'm going to take control of my life, and I'm really going to start directing and being in the driver's seat of where I want to go. When you think about that for yourself, you know, what are your bet on self moments? I know we talked about, it's like you're in one as we speak. You're like, we're living, breathing in your bet on self car right now. We are driving in it.
Yes, we are.
You literally came here to Boston to get on my show. But other than that, like, what do you think, you know, is like one we haven't talked about? Because I think we talked about a lot of your bet on self moments.
Yeah. So betting on myself was the morning I woke up knowing that I wasn't stable. And I looked my mom in her eyes with tears, both of us. And I said, I need help. That's the day that I had to check in to the institution. I bet on myself in that moment, even though I didn't know I was betting on myself. I knew I needed help. So that's all I knew I needed in that moment. So when I go and I get help, the help truly was only the separation and silence that I needed to hear from the divine. So I get these words now. And I get out of the hospital. And before I get out the hospital, the divine showed me a whole vision of what I'm doing right now, today.
Bars.
The whole vision of what I've been doing for the past 2 years. I bet on myself by putting out a book. Never thought I'd be an author. Maybe I thought it. I never thought I'd actually accomplish it. So I became an author. And now I'm an author, but now I'm a speaker. Now I'm a curriculum writer of self-love. Now I am a self-love like mission driven.
She a guru. She a mogul in self-love.
You call it what you want, but
right?
This is the divine mission and purpose that God has placed on my heart.
That's what's up. And so you can actually meet Karima, right? She's gonna be here in Boston with me.
Coming back
in July for the business shower.
Yes,
that's being
I'll
held
be speaking
here, and she's going to be a speaker. Who's it being held by?
It is being held by
Jessica.
JLW. Yep,
JLW Consulting. It's at UMass Boston, I believe. It's going to be where it's held.
Yeah.
And it's in July. What's the date? Jeez.
July 19th.
July 19th.
Yes.
Right before Mike Tyson fights.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited about, I don't know why I like boxing. But we are going to be having a good time. And what we understand, if people are struggling with purpose, even if you're in business, thinking about being in business, these are some of the things you need to get to your purpose, right? You need to be around people who are going to spark inspiration. If you're lacking motivation, you need to be sparked with inspiration.
Yes.
And then that inspiration needs to be followed up with strategies.
Yes.
And then I would also say you need accountability, right? You need people on your team that know what to do so that you can pick their brains, right? That's why you need a therapist. That's why you need a coach. You know, no pun intended, not me as a coach, but I could be a coach too, right? You need a coach. You need good material to read. And I think that ultimately we got to start with our young people.
Yes.
Because they're going to get in relationships, y'all.
Yes.
Much as we may not want it. I know parents, I know I got an 18-year-old. Oh, I did. Right? But they're going to get in relationships. And I got to give my son this book and tell him to read.
Yes.
He actually sent me, because I've been really working with him on his finances. And he texts me. Oh gosh. About I can't remember what he texted me. It was a scripture. Proverbs 31. I don't know how many people know about Proverbs 31, but it talks about.
He referenced you as the Proverbs 31 woman.
He did.
Ashe. It's beautiful.
He did. And that's all he sent me in a text. And that was after me talking to him about finances. And I was like, wow. Our children shall
rise up and call her blessed.
Oh. Do you know my heart just was like, I was all messed up. But your children do listen, you know, and sometimes you got to also go and just feed your own brain.
Yeah.
And by you feeding your brain and your soul, your spirit, working through your stuff, you will become a better parent.
Yes.
For those of you that are trying to do parenting and you feel stuck with parenting, or you feel like you can't reach your kids, start with self.
Yeah.
I know you don't like that.
Self-love is the only love.
Start with self. Yes. Oh my goodness. Can you believe we got like 5 minutes?
Come on.
5 minutes left.
Wow.
Oh, I told you it goes by fast.
Yeah, real fast.
What do you think in closing? What are some things you want people to know?
Kind of the statement I just made. Self-love is truly the only love. I believe that it's important that people know that loving others is super awesome. but loving yourself is primary before loving others. That just has to be what it is. And I want you to think of yourself as an empty cup that you must fill to capacity. And when it overflows, the contents of that cup spills out on the loved ones around you. That's how love is. Fill your cup first and let the overflow bless the people around you.
Jeez. Bars. Wisdom.
I should.
Guidance. Love. Shout out to everybody that's listening. We appreciate you guys. Opal, Mary Ann McKenzie. We got Claudine Burns. And we appreciate y'all. Everybody that's tuned in on all the platforms.
Thank you.
Make sure you share this live.
Please
Make
share,
sure you let
please
people
share.
know about the business shower. The links will be provided in the chat. Not to mention, y'all got to make sure y'all go and subscribe to my girl here's website. Get her book.
Yes.
If you have any speaking engagements for students and youth, you've heard her here tonight. You guys need to bring her, have her work with your youth, because we need that. We need more of us doing work with our kids out here in the community.
Yes.
So what's next? What's the next big thing for you? Like, if you could wake up tomorrow and doing exactly what it is you want to do, there was no fear, there was no resources that were missing, what would you be doing?
I'll be traveling across the globe, speaking this Temples of Sacred message and pouring into young adults, teens, and even adults who need to know the power of unconditional love for self. That's what I'll be doing every single day. Yeah. And it's coming. It's coming. You know, and it's right around the corner. It's right here. And this is a testament, you know, me being here in Boston is just a stepping stone to that goal. And I just thank you for all the people that are supporting me on this journey and are listening right now. You know, I love you. I appreciate you. And I thank you for all that you've done to really, really support this Temples message. You know who you are.
You better talk about it. We got Bernice is on here. Excellent presentation. We appreciate y'all. Yeah, we give some people some love. That's in these. We have
big shouts to Dina Jean from the Success Tribe for this connection.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Big shouts out,
big
right?
Shouts. I appreciate you. Thank you for making this happen.
She is making big moves.
Yes.
Now pronounce the name I messed up because it's about making moves.
What?
The name of your business.
Temples are Sacred.
No, the other one.
Oh, Tendaji. I said make it happen.
Yes.
Touch and agree, Tendaji.
Yes, Tendaji. I think that's I messed it up earlier, y'all. I had to make sure I get it right. Tendaji.
Yeah.
Right. And that's actually a baby name. That's why I was pulling that up from. They said it was a baby's name. Making things happen. So I'll see you in July.
Yes.
Most definitely.
Tell people where to follow me.
Oh, well, that's right here.
Oh, okay.
It's like streaming at the bottom, but you can go ahead and tell them.
Yeah.
Tell them how they can find you.
At Karima.McKenzie on Instagram, Karima McKenzie on Facebook, and templesarsacred.com is my website. I'm offering so many opportunities to speak as well as individual one-on-one work on how to harness the power of self-love. So
you heard it right here. Y'all heard it right here first. Thank you for listening to another episode of Conversations with Coach La. See y'all next Sunday. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.